Good evening, members of the public, be it that you're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you may be. I acknowledge you're receiving this tonight or whenever you are getting this. Thank you for the time that you're spending. I'm going to get straight into action. My name is Talks W. Child. I'm the CEO of Ace Professional. I was just waiting for a few people to join, and I understand there's internet interruptions. Well, they'll catch up. Here we go. Here are our handles. You got an offer, you decide to start a career abroad, you want to get going. So you contact us at Ace. We're headhunters, Ace Professional Headhunters in the UK, and we are good at sorting out jobs above 40K and above. We're bespoke for that. We can help with things below that. However, where's our niche? This is our niche market. Our website is www.aceprofessional.org. It is looking really interesting. I oblige you to have a look and go and please yourself on our website. Enjoy whatever you get to over there. Sign up, participate. If you're willing to reach us for an inquiry, our email address is info@aceprofessional.org. So let's get you in. Why people get refused visa. I do not know if I have more people waiting. Let's see. I don't have anybody waiting. Oh, yeah. There you go. All right. So 4 common reasons why people get visas refused. We have over here, soft skills is massively important, although it's not listed here. We have financials. So depending on your back statements, your income sources, are they consistent? Are they verifiable? This is a big, big deal. So it comes to number 1, your documentation, certification, letters, are this also verified? Are they valid? That is also showing some kind of consistency. That is major. The third one here is checking your background. Are you being truthful about, have you been an applicant in the past? Do you have any history of immigrational problems? Have you gone to other countries that you have not disclosed? Is there any particular red flag about you that they will find if they were to search for you on information, with criminals checks and immigration checks? You've got to be consistent. So that's major as well. That if you flew, for example, to Australia or New Zealand and you were not given entry, either it's Dubai or Saudi Arabia, wherever it is, and you're thinking, okay, now I'm coming to the UK, they're not really related. That's not quite the case. If they're asking you a question and it's something that you do not know what's been written in another country about you, you're meant to disclose it. It's better you are clear about what they're talking about than you say you don't have any history and then they go and discover it. It automatically discredits you. It reduces your credibility. So chances of them going forward with you becomes very slim. Prepare your interview for the interview by researching the country, the job market. So if you're doing visas, it'll be country. If you're doing jobs, it'll be the job market. Basically, practice your presentation skills. Know how to answer difficult questions. Do you know how to answer difficult questions? Are you coming up with the right answers? That is important. Employment restriction and labor market test. When applying for a job abroad, you would need to be aware of employment restriction and labor market tests that apply. These are designed to, protect domestic workforce from competition, ensure that employer prioritizes local candidates. So in the UK, there's a set employment restriction that they put in. They say when the job is advertised, you should give the locals at least 2 months, which is equivalent of 8 weeks, opportunity to apply for the jobs. After they have gotten that opportunity, then you can extend this to the international market. So employment restrictions, some countries have restrictions on certain types of jobs, such as healthcare, education, There are countries that are struggling, they're on their knees with different types of workforces. So if, for example, you're from the Philippines or you're from Jamaica or you're from the West Indies, any of the other countries out there, and they have a peculiar problem in education that they don't have attract jobs to attract teachers, or they have people struggling in healthcare because they cannot attract healthcare professionals, it would be unwise to see any other country or company recruiting from those countries that are red flagged, that are already on the brink, that can't sustain itself. So employment restrictions exist. You also need to understand that. So labor market tests, on the other hand, may demonstrate that you could not find a local candidate before they allowed, to hire a foreign. I talked about this earlier. This involves advertising the job, and different countries have different types of labor market tests. An example I remember is back in the days when doctors were requested to come to Saudi Arabia. All the adverts, all the opportunities that were given, they have a limit of how many doctors can come, the quota, they're just not ripping countries off and taking all the doctors from every country. So at the moment, I think certain countries need to be following they need to follow suit, the same kind of approach. When Canada is recruiting, or is New Zealand, or is Australia, they need to make sure that there are doctors in that country, that particular sector is not kind of like you're not restraining them, you're not taking away what they need as a blood flow to have things done efficiently in those countries. Documentation and eligibility issues. When applying for a visa or a job abroad, you need to provide an accurate and verifiable information about your qualifications, your work experience, and other details. So make sure whatever you're providing can be checked and cross-referenced that that's the case. Any discrepancies or inconsistencies can lead to refusals or rejection. Skills assessment. You may have to undergo a skill assessment to demonstrate your qualification, your work experience. So in the UK, we have a body called ECTIS. ECTIS checks people's transcripts out, checks people's certificates out to ascertain that is this comparable to what we have over here, because different particular countries teach in different ways. Now, how do we assess that all of these things are met and they're meeting the same standards? When we say someone is a doctor in Nigeria, are they equivalent to a doctor all over the world? There has to be certain exams that we're setting out. So IELTS is the one in English, but you have other exams that allows all professionals to be what ascertains that they are working at the same level of safety and understanding. Language tests. You may have to prove your proficiency in English. So I talked about IELTS, and they have another one called CELT. All right, so these are simple English language tests. It is quite straightforward from the word. It's almost, you can read the meaning from it. Educational credentials. If your degree or diploma was obtained outside country, you need to check for its equivalent. That's what I talked about with ECTIS. So this is key things that you need to be mentioning. Don't go to talking about something that nobody can verify, can check, and say, yes, I've got a degree in carpenting, but it was done from an in-house neighbor. No, it has to be university, it has to be a polytechnic, they have to be recognized, they have to see that they have their courses outlined, and people can follow through and see that this is being done thoroughly. Criminal record and security concerns. When applying for a visa and a job abroad, you need to disclose whether you're a criminal. And people think that criminals generally are not allowed to travel once they know that they're a criminal. I don't agree. If you have a criminal, rather being truthful, that they've served their time and they understand the limitations and the consequences of the crime that they've committed and the impact, I think they're better off compared to someone who's not a criminal, but they're not being truthful. I think you would give more credibility to a criminal that has cleared up and say, I was a criminal within this year. I served my time within this year, and I was not allowed to be in front of vulnerable people within this period. And I have shown that I have, been rehabilitated. I am better. That criminal will be given more credibility compared to someone who's not quite clear about things. So again, the world has changed now. In every country upon entry, you have fingerprinting, background check. So local countries back in the days in 2001, and so this was something that they did in the US only. The UK wasn't even doing it at that point, and eventually UK caught up with it. And I'll say all the African countries have also caught up with it. So they will check you, and if you have your fingerprints that you've done some crime and you even come up straight with the answers, your credibility again drops. Customs and border control, you may have to go through. So certain countries don't have stringent border control if they have neighboring countries that is kind of deemed as part of the country, or they have some kind of close relationships and partnerships agreements in place. But when passing through official international borders, you can expect scrutiny that is of a certain standard, and you can expect all questions to be answered seriously, and they would take your answers and responses as legit as you are being objective with them. They won't take it as a joke. So it's important to honestly give people the right answers in those times. Immigration and entry requirements. You need to satisfy entry requirements and immigration rules of the country you're visiting. This involves having a valid passport, a travel visa required, and other supporting documents. All right. So you have immigration and entry requirements that you need to have is passport. Now, there are certain countries within the ECOWAS, I understand you can have some kind of temporary passport, some kind of travel pass. And some countries, I think in the EU too, they do the same. They recognize each other's passport. But if they've given you a kind of like a national identity card, and that they say is valid on those borders, then it will be acceptable in certain countries. Skills and qualifications and requirements. So when applying for a job, you need to meet the skills qualification. Now, this is where people don't get. This is the tricky part. Now, we talk about healthcare, IT, and all the other things. People hear of stories. Other people who've gone through make stories sound so simple, oversimplify things. So it allows other new people to think that there is no process. They imagine things are wayward. No, they come into a really organized environment, and there are processes in place. There are due diligences that have to be met. So they call the certain departments of recruitment compliance. Compliance has to be able to say they've checked through your references, they've seen your personal statement, your narrative is consistent. It's the job of compliance to certify any candidate. If any candidate, no matter how qualified they seem, if they fail compliance, that's it. They're not going forward. Nobody's bothering to consider them. So all these healthcare jobs and things that people are talking about in the UK, if people are not going through scrutiny and not understanding compliance, they may assume that it's a walk in the park, that you just step in there. But resume has to be on point, cover letter has to be on point, interview etiquette has to be sharp, and you should expect the bare minimum due diligence has to happen. Compliance has to certify you. In the UK, we have something called DBS, which is the Data Buried Service. What do? They check criminals. Now, in certain jobs, you are not allowed to start the job. You're not allowed to even come in as an official worker unless you pass those DBS, unless it comes out back from a third party that you are certified not a criminal. But people need to, kind of like embroider this into their thinking, wherever they're coming from all over the world. Networking and referrals. So this is more softer part of things. You can use your personal professional networks to find jobs, get referrals, and attend industry events. Now, this is so important. I was just in a meeting today for my headhunting part of my business, and we flagged up the importance of networking, and it was someone in aviation. Interesting just this evening, I've spoken to another person whilst networking. She's talking about an event that's coming up in aviation. So I've got this fantastic event I've got to share to somebody else who's in aviation, and they can get this, things roped up. The more you're out and about, the more people hear about you, the more you're not isolated, the more your cards go around, the more there's a general information about you. The less that you attend these things, the more you're isolated, you're in your corner. Whatever you think about yourself, you're in your bubble. That thought stays in your bubble. But if you want people to hear the whiz about you, that there's something popping about you, you've got to network, you've got to get referrals, and you got to give referrals. So what is the process that you expect? Interview preparation and presentation skills. You need to get confident. You need to get to know how to present yourself, how people skills. You need to know what interview skills you need to have. What is your body language given? You need to understand this. So all of this are key skills that one needs to have. And public speaking, to know how to be mentored or mentoring. So when applying for a visa, you need to have strong presentation skills, interview preparation. Again, communication skills is a big one. So if you can notice this evening, I've been speaking. You see me listening as well when people speak to me. I'm reading and I'm writing. All of these skills are skills that make my communication skills seem robust. Seems that I'm coming across quite clear and understandable. So use clear and concise language. If you notice, I've not been talking about bogus language. I keep things quite simplified. I use language that everybody should be able to understand. And the more I use that, the wider my reach, the wider my audience. So interpersonal skills, be aware of your body language. If you notice my body language, I've been sitting straight. I'm wearing a formal shirt. Everything around my environment is pretty formal. Use positive and enthusiastic language. I've been enthusiastic. My energy is buzzing. I'm not lackadaisical and such and picking words. So we are going to talk about, I'm not speaking like that. I'm nothing like that at all. So cultural understanding, research the countries, cultural norms, the values, be respectful for their customs. So for example, I've had professionals have gone off to Muslim countries and they have not particularly upheld their part of the bargain or understand that this is this people's culture, this is this people's religion, and these are certain customs around here. So if you are going to work in certain countries that have different religion to your religion or different culture to your culture, you need to be aware that you need to be mindful of certain customs in their own cultures and religion. And they need to be seen that you are respectful of it. Because if you are somebody who wants respect, you've got to give respect. So these are certain IT jobs that I advertise on Total Jobs. Indeed, you've got IT senior manager. In Dublin is negotiable. IT service desk analyst, SAP data migration developer. So again, people talk about lack of jobs. There are jobs. It's just the communication is missing, and it's even worse in this generation. People are going to apply for this job and they are totally in a bubble. They're not with the flow that there has to be a language, there has to be a way that you communicate, that you're coming across, and the people can pick up what you're trying to explain, what you're saying, and your communication is effective. So this is on Indeed. This is front-end developer, IT infrastructure, IT technician. There are lots of jobs. The salaries are there. Again, like I say, the jobs are there. This is not today, but this were posted on August. So this is more like a while ago. Now, this is an example of what people need to have when you are submitting your CV to a job. You need to make sure that your resume matches the job that's advertised. Look at the job description, look at the keywords. And this website kind of does it for free for you. It will check and it will sync out things. So if I can remember the name of the website, I don't have it here. I believe it's Skills Sync or something like that. Yeah, I think I'm correct. So there you go. there's the job posting says teacher, and it says teachers, and you've got teachers, and the number of your responses to the job posting is next to it. So you can see where you're missing compromising, self-development. These are the things that are missing comparing the CV to the job. In terms of job match, if an AI were to pick this up, the person would be 77%, almost 80% in match. But most of the time, people's CV and the job are totally conflicting worlds. So they're not close to 50%. They're really, really less. Now let's see, for anyone who wants to educate in the UK, there's certain types of routes that you may get in through. If you are of an EU citizen, your parents, your family members from the EU, and you have a family skills tree and say, okay, this is where I relate to, you can come through that method. Certain countries are allowed to use the youth mobility visa skills. So the youth mobility scheme allows people between the age of 18 to 30 have about 2,000 savings. They've never been here, have no dependents, and have no children with them. So these people are allowed to come in. So lots of teachings or teaching assistants have been recruited across the world through this. I believe Canada is still allowed. Australia and New Zealand are allowed at the moment. So point-based immigration system. You can acquire a visa through points-based immigration system. This is called Tier 2 visa. This is a common system. Now, it's just the fact that people have abused the understanding of the due diligence that has to happen before they get through. Visas for teaching in the UK. An ancestry visa grants Commonwealth citizen. So if you have your ancestors born in the UK, this type of visa would allow you to come through if your grandparents, your parents were from the UK. This is a way to get into education. Here we go. Planning is important, not just important to make a plan before you begin, but also to change directions when things go wrong. The sooner you change direction, the faster you get to your goals. Imagine you're in a maze. If your strategy isn't working, you got to change strategy. You got to understand, you got to look out for things. You got to feel the wind, follow the smell, have other things, change strategy, switch it. If wherever you're working isn't getting you to where you need to go, or getting closer, and you're not feeling the wind thinner, or you're not getting to the edges of the maze, then you got to change strategy. What is it that we're talking about? Our products and services. So ACE is offering products, services, and both of them. And what do? Why are we good at what we're doing? We understand improved candidates. We understand measured, reflective, constantly growing workers. This is what employers want. This is what they need. We speak to employers every day. This is integral to our work, understanding the market. So having conversations at length with employers in terms of suitability. So if you're a customer in education and you're trying to get your QTS, you want the training, or you want training and portfolio, or you want just portfolio only, you can contact us. Go ahead and dream big. Have complete faith that God will do everything possible to make manifest your wildest dreams. Now let's see section 4. Let's talk about the process. What's our own personal due diligence, our compliance? Today, you are in an information meeting. The next steps is request a decision-making link. Once you've got that, payment confirmation and the package will be delivered and handed over. Now, why do we have steps? Some people want different, people with different preferences. Some people want their payments broken down. Some people want their payment on a timeline in terms of their affordability, in terms of their questions, their fears, their considerations. So this is what they need to look at, the job hunt. So this comes after you've got your package from us, you can job hunt, and the visa would follow for those people looking for sponsored jobs. So people who are not looking for sponsored jobs, yeah, they can get their jobs straight away. So knowledge, it attracts abundance when it's organized, intelligently directed through practical plans of action. Look at me today, look at what we've done. So all of these things, every part of this PowerPoint is intentional. It's deliberate. It's for a specific type of action. It's supposed to trigger a goal within the people listening to me, who've seen and hearing from me. So this particular part of it is to encapsulate, is to summarize all the things that we've talked about. we've come to the end of this presentation. I'm just going to ask my guests what their take is on it and what they've taken away. I do not want to punish anyone's time. I believe time is our most precious asset and it needs to be looked after, just like health. Mr. Daniel, sir, what are you taking away with you tonight? So Daniel's not here. Madam Ade, good evening.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sir. Sorry,
Good.
I didn't hear from you, so I was moving away.
Yeah, I'm here. So what took my attention the most is the part where you mentioned reason why visas are being denied. It's so mind blowing, and I have series of what's it called? I had series of examples today, and I was shocked at how these case workers are working on applications, and they are going to the root of things to get evidences to take out some people's
I understand, sir. I agree with you. Yes, the caseworkers are doing their job. They've been given a job
um,
to do. Can you hear me, sir?
yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so the caseworkers are being paid to spot things out. If it's more like compliance departments and banks. If they see there's anything that's triggered, they will flag it up. So they're looking for red flags. So it might be in something slightest. It might be in a question about your mom, question about your dad. The ages might be wrong. Anything little, very, very small. And it would trigger them. And once they're triggered, they look for more flaws. And that's it. They follow a series of troubleshooting. And if they cannot see anything resolved, that person is unlikely to go through. But then they switch from the mentality of identifying. They now start switching to their own reasons. So they will write the reasons because they want to make it impossible for the person they've denied to be able to appeal. So they will try to show you that they have logically justifiable reason to have denied you. Totally understand, yeah.
So
Madam,
I heard
okay,
I
yes,
read I read an article today
yeah.
of a guy that actually posted the story online of how he applied with fake credentials, and so he said that when he applied, he got it denied, and because he thought he had covered, all the loose ends, so that even when the caseworker tried to verify, they will meet things intact. So he now got a lawyer to probe into why it got denied, and think the Home Office now avail the caseworkers worksheets, what they have gone through, and the reason why he was denied. And he was amazed what you saw on the paper of how they sent somebody to his home country to go to that particular company he said he worked in. And when
Mhm.
they got there, discovered that it's an imaginary location, nothing is there, no company bears that name, and those things led to his denial. So all these things, they are just mind-blowing, the extent these case
Oh, they're
workers
going,
are going
yes,
to.
yes, no, they're going far. If for example, like I said today, if people were applying from ancestry part, they will check, they will check your blood type, they will check your parents, they will go far. So yeah, they're invested. It's because they've started seeing different kind of things. Mm. So they've seen people mess about. So hence, yes, they will address things. Let me give Madam Ade an opportunity to tell us what she's picked up. Hello, Madam Ade.
Good evening, Mr. Stokes. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Okay,
evening.
what stood out for me actually is your style of presentation, and which is when you were giving suggestion about what the criminal part of it, you were giving suggestions on what they could do instead of just saying criminals cannot travel into a particular country. They are more better off, especially if they've served their time. So it shows the fact that the laws are not infallible most of the times. And you having your opinion is also another angle and another way to engage the audience, whereby they can think outside the box. How can this law be better? Which one is the better route? And it is in these conversations like this, that laws are changed. When conversations like this start, then you see laws being changed because people are speaking about it. So I really, really like that.
It's
Okay,
actually very interesting what you're saying because I was just in a meeting with somebody this afternoon that deals with people who either were incarcerated or people in mental homes, and they are trying to rehabilitate them and they're trying to reintegrate them into the society. Um, One of the key things we were talking about is this: is what kind of skills, what kind of opportunities. So one of the key thing that they emphasize in terms of socially is for those people to accept that they've gone through those journeys. So if it's like if you had a military, an ex an ex-military person, and this ex-military person has got PTSD, but does not fully acknowledge that they have a problem, they would not be credible. But if the more you say, I have a problem and I'm dealing with it, that approach of growth, it changes everything. It changes the way people look at you. It changes the way people understand you. People, when people own up, I remember walking with a gentleman into a school and he was a killer. He was somebody who was incarcerated for so many years since he was 18, and he came back when he was 35. Um, he'd killed someone, and the reason, if you listen to his story, if you give him a chance enough to tell his story, there was something that happened when he was young and someone was robbed, and the person who was robbed was a drug dealer, and it put a notice out that he was going to kill him. So he was running for 2 months or so for his life, and he realized there was no way out. He had to attack first, or else he was going to be killed. So he ended up attacking. He and his friends went and attacked this drug dealer, and the drug dealer died. However, both he and his friend were both sent to jail for that, for killing that guy. He will tell you he regrets it. He will tell you it was a wrong choice. He will tell you all the things that he's missed. He'll tell you how his life has been affected. But he gains credibility when he tells you his full story. But if you just hear that he was in prison and he was an ex-con, I think how you look at it would be very different. You would just imagine, oh, another ex-criminal that's been given chances. Why is he being given chances? You don't have the full picture. So yes, it's an important thing. And I think culture is also important because we in the what do you call it, developing part of the world, we have terrible culture with people with health problems, people with cancer, people with HIV, AIDS. We have terrible culture in approaching them, in giving them opportunities, people who are crippled, people who are disenfranchised, people with different sexual orientation. We have a terrible track record in basically how we deal with things with them. There is no law that says people cannot be different from us. People can be different. I think what's more important is they respect our wishes, we respect their wishes. And we need to kind of foster a relationship where everybody can get along, not that anyone is in anyone's face and disrespectful. I think that's really, really paramount. We're yet to grow up to that level. We hope that we would. But that's very, very important. The thing you talked about, it also works in teaching over here. Criminals can work after a certain number of years that they've served and a certain number of integration years, they can go back to work with kids and everybody. So if that's what they love, they're allowed back to, as long as they tell their story and they disclose that, yes, I was once a criminal, I was barred for this. Then everybody else will assess them and come to a conclusion. Should we allow this person to work freely, or should we allow this person to be assisted around the building? And that's it. Madam Toshin, what's your takeaway, please?
My takeaway, sir, is exactly what you have just said. The fact that everybody is not the same thing, and we should like to accept that. Although I was not able to hear a lot of things from the beginning, but I was able to pick from Mr. Daniel, Tola, and you, sir. And I think I really agree with that line of discussion. And yes, sir. So that's it. I'm not able to say much because I was not able to hear.
I get you. Yeah. So just to reiterate, we all are human beings, and we are all not perfect. And some could say we're all flawed, but we want to say it in a more optimistic way. We're all working towards our better selves. And in an attempt that we are working towards our better selves, we cannot learn if we do not do wrong, if we do not fall short. I think that the lessons are in inadequacy, such as somebody doing very well. I just had my niece pass her driving test. She had failed it so many times today. She just finally passed it. And yes, that's somebody who was training to be a doctor, very intelligent. You would not imagine she would have that problem, but she did. So we're all not perfect. There's always a journey for us. And it's always for everybody to understand that everybody's at a different stage in their journey. And judging them, it's not the whole story. Any page in a book is not the whole story. So the whole story is at the end of the book. So it's important for people to understand that. People jump to conclusions. They want to force their collective understanding on other people. Oh, you're a thief. Oh, you're a criminal. Oh, you're from this country and you're bad. All of that is, it's really, really, really premature and not really merited. So they could be better. Things could be better objective. I can't say that we'll be 100% objective. It's a goal that we'll be working towards. But it's important for us at this age and this era, if we're going to be better than everyone who's ever lived on the surface of this planet, to make certain choices that are educated and informed choices. It's really important. We're not just all living our lives, we're all writing history together. And the choices we make will live long beyond our time, collectively and individually. They will all. So we will never understand who started the ripple, but we know that a Mexican wave starts from somewhere and moves somewhere. So let's start this wave. Well, on that note, thank you, whoever's listening to us, whoever's been with us, whoever is hearing this in the future. We hope we've sown a fantastic seed of fortune in you, and we hope that you go and manifest that and make that something wonderful. We don't want you to miss out on jobs. We don't want you to miss out on visas. We want you to be the best at whatever you do and have the best viewpoint setting you up. Remember, soft skills will set you apart in the near future. We can't wait for this to happen. So pleasure has been mine. I thank all my guests this evening. Thank you very much individually, collectively. I thank you. I appreciate you, and I wish you all a fantastic evening. Thank you. God be with you. Thank you from Ace. Again, if you're looking for our handles, I'll go back to the beginning. I believe our handles is right here. So you've got www.aceprofessional.org. Again, I say knock yourself out with that website. It is beautiful and it's going to get better. And there's a lot of offering coming. So look out for us. We are something to reckon with, and we're rising. We're like a little sprout right now, but when we grow into a tree, you'll be like, I never saw them coming. But we've been here all this while. We're growing. So I'm looking forward to this journey. So thank you. If you're doing us right now, you're part of the story. You're part of our legacy. We applaud you. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, sir.